Hey everyone, it's Heylinni here, and guess what? We're going on a trip! Today's video is a concept that I kind of had brewing in my mind, where travel is coming back and places are opening up, people are going overseas, and one of the places I am most excited about returning to is Japan, obviously. As you would know from all of my previous Japan vlogs, it's definitely my favorite holiday destination. So I know for Japan at the moment, they've opened borders somewhat, but only to tourist groups. Very hopefully soon they will open up fully so we can all go back and have fun in Japan. To be frank, we're not actually going on the trip, but I thought what might be fun is to talk through almost the plan for a dream trip. And I'll have organized everything for you, so when it is time for you to decide to go on that next holiday, you could almost pick up just one of these itinerary plans and just roll with it. So let's get into the video. So you can see here that I have decided to plan my trip in Notion, and no, I'm still not sponsored by them. I've decided that for this trip there are a couple of constraints. So the first being, this is a 2-week trip, and I'm going to almost take it like it's the first time that someone is going to Japan. So I'm going to include a little more touristy areas or the popular cities to go to start with. I've put a likely date of January 11th, 2023 to January 25th, 2023. So that's 15 nights. I've also calculated if you are working during that time, it's about 11 leave days required. What's nice about this date as well is it's quite early on in the year. It's when everyone else has just started to come back from leave. And so it's a fairly quiet time for you still to go somewhere. So as an overview of this itinerary, what we're planning is 2 days in Mount Fuji, 4 days in Osaka, 3 days in Kyoto, and 5 days at the end in Tokyo. Initially, when I had created this plan, I had also included Sapporo because going to Japan to ski is the best thing. And I've had plenty of Japan ski vlogs before. You can see how awesome it is. I thought if we're going to cram it into 2 weeks, I probably wouldn't go skiing then. And if I did want to go, I might make that actually a longer trip. Let's get into the budget for the trip. I'm going to assume here, guys, we haven't traveled that much, so we've got a little bit of money to splash on a holiday. As a quick overview of the budget based on flights, we are looking at around 2.4K. Other transit, maybe $400. Accommodation is the other big spend, about 1.3. But let's talk about flights and transit, which is the biggest cost in your budget. There are 7 legs. The first is getting to Japan in the first place. And I have actually found a flight from Sydney to Tokyo, and it is a return flight. So even though you'll be traveling around Japan, how I've organized this trip is that you start in Tokyo and then you also end in Tokyo so that you can catch the plane from the same airport, which just helps a little bit in terms of getting a cheaper flight. It's a 9.5-hour flight, and it costs in total 2.4K, so I've halved that each way. It is a flight with ANA, and it leaves at 9:35 p.m. and gets to Japan the next day at 5:10 a.m. There are other flights though, from Sydney to Tokyo on the same dates. I think there's a Philippine Airways flight, which is a lot cheaper. I think it was around 1.5K, but I ended up selecting the ANA flight for this trip because I've just always traveled ANA to Japan. It is a direct flight as well. The other ones you have stopovers and it takes a little bit longer to get to your destination. Once you land in Tokyo in that morning, I've also added another short bus trip alongside it to get to Fuji. And the reason that I'm doing this is because, one, when you get to Fuji, it's the onsen experience. So after a long flight, you can just relax for a few days, decompress, and get ready for your adventure. The second is because you're going to have to make one of these trips anyway, so you might as well just cram a bunch of travel together, get them out of the way. It's a 2-hour bus trip with the Highlander bus, and there are a couple of times when different buses leave. So I just put 8:40 as one of the options of when you could leave. taking into account that it takes time to travel from the airport to the bus stop, and you also don't want to feel too rushed as well. About 2 days later, we travel from Fuji back to Tokyo, same bus, and then on that day again, what I'm doing is chaining these trips. So you catch the bullet train from Tokyo to Osaka. And in this case, the bullet train again is one that you'll have to pre-book. It's about $150 and the train trip is about 2.5 hours. Lots of trains leave, so you can take an option that's around 3 p.m, get there at 5:30. If you're late for it, it's fine, take the next one. I did actually consider whether you should get the JR pass as well for this trip because it's about 2 weeks, but after having thought about how much you pay for I think it's a 14-day JR pass versus how many times you actually do need to use the JR, it comes to a bit cheaper, I think, to actually just pay for the individual ticket. After a couple of days, you may travel to Kyoto, which is quite close actually. It's about a 15-minute bullet train ride. Spend a few days in Kyoto and catch the bullet train from Kyoto back to Tokyo. And again, it's about $150 for that single trip. And then finally, the return flight back from Tokyo to Sydney on the 25th. You get back in Sydney if you are from Australia, and you do have a public holiday the day after, which gives you time to rest without feeling like you need to take an extra day of leave. That's a little bit of an overview of all the different legs of transport that you may take during this trip. Now, let us take a look at the accommodation across the different cities. So in the accommodation page, I have attached the calendar trip view. I'm going to show you some of these accommodation options. Again, if you're optimizing for price, you could definitely look for things that are a little bit less expensive. The other thing to keep in mind is I'm looking at accommodation for 2 people. So this is really not a huge group trip. And so if you want to go with a larger group, you may have to look for accommodation that has more beds. So the first accommodation is probably the most expensive one, and it's in Fuji. For 2 nights, it's about $700 per person. I know you guys are like, well, stop there. Are we bougie? Yes, we are getting bougie for this first accommodation, and that is because you're going for an onsen experience. I've done an onsen experience before in Japan where you pay a little bit more and the experience is authentic and enjoyable. It is so worth it. Last time I remember we had to pay the accommodation in cash at the onsen, and I hadn't accounted for it in my budget, and so it was quite a hefty amount to pay extra. So when we initially had to pay it, I was like, oh, this is really expensive. And then as soon as we went in and had the experience and the service, I kept saying, this was so worth it. This is the most worth it experience that we've had during our whole trip. I picked this onsen hotel called Ubuya, and it looks so nice. It is, as you can see, a 5-star hotel, has really great reviews. Just be careful that it is booked out quite a lot. This onsen is on the lake, faces Mount Fuji. You have a beautiful view of it. It looks so clean, it looks modern, but also has the traditional aspects to it. I love the dinners and the breakfasts that they do there because they always serve very traditional Japanese food, and it almost feels to me like fine dining. So just that entire package of an experience, I think, is worth to try. The second is when you go to Osaka. The rest of these accoms are not expensive. This is $183 per person for 4 nights. And I found a place that was really close to Dotonbori, which is their main busy street for food, for festivities. So I think this place looked really nice. It's super hosted. It is well reviewed as well. So when I look on Airbnb, I always check, does it have a lot of reviews? Is the rating high? Is the host reliable? Do the photos look good? Is there space? And I think this place does definitely look really, really nice, and it's not expensive either. The next accommodation is in Kyoto, and this is $104 per person, super cheap. I believe this is actually in a hotel. And then the last leg of your trip in Tokyo is 4 nights, so it is a tiny bit more expensive. It's still only $303 per person. Keep in mind, there's a heap of really great Airbnbs, and this is just one of them. This one is in Shibuya, which I just really like staying in Shibuya or near there because it's a huge shopping district. Now, the next page that I have in this trip plan is must remembers. And I think it is so important whenever you're going somewhere to make sure you've got your emergency contact numbers down, be responsible, just got the numbers down in case that you need them, as well as the location and phone number of the Australian Embassy in case I do need help. So the other thing that I have on this page is Wi-Fi. I definitely recommend thinking about either a pocket Wi-Fi or a SIM card. Let's get to the exciting stuff because this is the itinerary for your trip. What are you actually going to do in Japan? And obviously because I have been there quite a few times now and been with different people who know the city quite well, I have been able to learn what are the most enjoyable things from my experience to share with you guys and what's on my wish list for me to go to next time. If you've got other things in mind, please chuck them down in the comments below. So day 1 and 2 we've established is in Mount Fuji. There is a lot of time for you to make your own and do whatever it is that you want to do. So in the first 2 days, once you land in Tokyo, I put at 8:40, you catch the bus to Fuji, and I believe it is Lake Kawaguchiko Station. And then you may decide as well to take a walk around the lake, which I have done before, and it's just such a peaceful experience. The next day, another day at the onsen, and then on the 14th, I put Fuji Q on this day. Fuji Q is a theme park in the Mount Fuji area, and it has had a lot of record-breaking rides. They are pretty extreme. Leave around 5 p.m. to get back to Tokyo. Once you get back there, I have also squeezed in that additional train to Osaka. Here's an opportunity for you to try a bento experience. At the train station, there's a lot of convenience stores where you can buy these fancier bento packages, and they have lots of different options at different prices. I've tried it last time where we took a train somewhere and had bento on the train. It feels like a very anime fan moment. And then you'll arrive in Osaka for your next 4 days.
Welcome to Osaka.
And so let's jump from day 3 to 6 in Osaka. Here are the things that I recommend doing. On that same day, obviously, you arrive at night, so check into your accom. And then the next day, I've organized a historic and culture day. So it's time to really experience some of the rich culture that Japan has to offer. One of the most classic things, if you have not been to Osaka before, is the Osaka Castle. And if you haven't been yet, I do recommend just paying that $7 entry fee, going to the top, checking out the view. They do also have kind of a museum in there that talks about the history of the Osaka Castle. At 12 p.m, I put go to Kurumon Market. And Kurumon Market is basically just one of the many markets of Osaka. And then at 2 p.m, I have put Namba Yasaka Shrine, which I've never been to before, but it has this unique entryway. Then at 4 p.m, head back near your accommodation. You can go shopping on Orange Street. There's a lot of hype stores there. And then 6 p.m, go to Dotonbori, of course, have some food. Take the photo in front of the Glico sign with the running man. The next day, I put Universal Studios. Even though I've been to Japan so many times, I've never been to Universal Studios in Japan. Universal Studios looks like so much fun in Japan. It's got the Harry Potter world. It's got this new Super Nintendo world. I think it has the Attack on Titan display as well. So it's about $80 for a ticket. Spend the day there. And then maybe 6 p.m, have dinner at Umeda. And at 8 p.m. after dinner, head up Umeda Sky Building, check out the views. I think you get some of the best night views from there as well. And Japan at night is really beautiful. The next day I have highlighted for the spa and also for Kobe. 10:30, head to Tennoji Zoo, and there's a temple near there as well. The zoo itself is about $6. I also haven't been there, but I had a look at it and I was like, this looks like fun. I want to do this next time. And then really, really close to that area is Spa World, which I would love to check out as well. It's another onsen type of experience. And after you've relaxed some more, then maybe around 6 p.m, take a quick train to Kobe, which is nearby, known for its famous Wagyu. So those are your days in Osaka. And then the next few days are in Kyoto. And I put in Kyoto on that first day, it's all about temple hopping, because I would hazard to say that Kyoto is an even more cultural, traditional place than Osaka. It has so many temples, so many shrines and things to check out in terms of getting in touch with the Japanese culture. Throughout the day, you may decide to go to a few places around the city like Kinkakuji Temple, Kiyomizu-dera Temple. I am butchering these pronunciations, I'm so sorry. The next day I've put Nara, because I think Nara is an unmissable experience when you go to Kyoto. It is about an hour train ride away from Kyoto, but you catch a train to Nara Deer Park. It's just so fun. It's really different as well. There's a lot of people walking towards a park, and then you hit this certain point on the outskirts of the park where you just start seeing deer everywhere. And you can buy food from vendors there to feed the deer. And the deer are so aggressive and they all crowd you, and it's terrifying. And so I ended up just like throwing it all in the ground and running away. But it's definitely a lot of fun. A really great place for content if you are looking for some Instagram photos. So yeah. When you come back, I have recommended maybe a Gion tea house experience, because Gion in Kyoto is known for its geisha culture and tea houses. The day after that, I haven't done this before either, but I really want to check out Arashiyama Monkey Park. I'm kind of terrified of the monkeys. And then at 2 p.m, you may decide to head to Fushimi Inari Shrine, which is the classic Facebook profile picture with the orange like shrine gates. And there's a pretty nice walk along those gates up to the top of the mountain where you get a nice view at night as well, or in the evening for a sunset. And that's your days in Kyoto. And then lastly, what to check out in Tokyo, which I've spent the most time in. So there's a bunch of stuff here. I actually found out on TikTok the other day that there's a lot of famous tourist attractions which have closed over COVID, which is really unfortunate. Things like the Robot Cafe, the Kawaii Monster Cafe. I think Team Lab's closing soon as well. On the next day, it's just an explore, like take the time to again chill out a little bit, catch a train to Tokyo whenever you feel like it, and check into your accommodation and just do some shopping, explore the city. I highly recommend going to Odaiba. I really like Odaiba. It's a little bit further from the city central, but you go across the Rainbow Bridge and it kind of feels like an island or like a seaside space off from the main city, and it's really nice. Near it is the Tsukiji Fish Market, which of course, super famous. Definitely recommend it for an early breakfast. And after you've done that, head to Odaiba, check out the Mega Web, check out Joypolis. They have other shopping centers around as well. So there is a heap of shopping centers in Odaiba and lots of attractions within it. At 4 p.m, if it is still on, I want to go to Team Lab Planets. Last time I went to Borderless, I didn't love the experience because there were so many people there, but Team Lab Planets is closing soon. It definitely looked like a bit of a different one from Borderless, so I still wanted to check that out. And then after, you might have dinner, and for late night, go to the Shinjuku batting cages. You don't have to book or anything. You just go there, pay for a set amount of balls. Japan's really famous for baseball, so it's kind of, I guess, a more local activity. The day after that, 23rd of January, that's my birthday actually, but I put here, go to Yokohama. Again, Yokohama is a bit of a train ride away. It feels like a seaside town. It's a port. There's a couple of tourist attractions there as well, like the beer factory. There's the cup noodle museum as well, which I went to last time. So much fun. You get to create your own cup noodles and decorate the packaging. There is a restaurant there that does noodles around the world, and they're all really small sizes, so you can try everything. The day after that is Harajuku and picnic. Of course, I cannot say go to Japan for your first time and not go to Harajuku. There's Takeshita Street, which is the famous touristy crowded street in Harajuku, but I like walking through it. I like the vibe. I like it being crowded. Harajuku is quite close to Yoyogi Park and Meiji Shrine. If the weather's good and it's not super cold, buy some convenience snacks and then have a picnic at Yoyogi because it's a really nice park. There's a lot happening there. You can check out the shrine. It's very peaceful. And then the last day, we're already on the last day of our trip. I put shopping, major shopping day, and I think Tokyo is one of the best places to go shopping. It is a little bit expensive. I've just organized this so that during the day, you hit all the major shopping areas and they increase in price, I guess. But this is also the optimal route to then eventually get to the airport. So you start the day in Shimokizawa, which is very well known for thrift shopping, secondhand shops. It is cheaper, it's a quieter area as well, and so much fun when it comes to thrifting. Then you might head to Shibuya, do some more shopping there. There is endless shopping that can be done in Shibuya. And then go to a more high-end area like Ginza, check out the more luxury shopping, the department stores. And then around 4 p.m. maybe, you go to Akihabara and you can check out electronics, and finally dinner, and then head to the airport because your flight's at 10:20 and you do not want to miss that. Or maybe you do because you want to stay in Japan for a few more days. So I hope that sounds like an exciting trip. The next pages, I've just got activities. There's extra activities on here if you want to pick and choose and create your own itineraries. And then I've also got a packing list in terms of what to bring to Japan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed planning this trip with me to Japan. As usual, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. If you really enjoyed this kind of video, let me know because I can definitely make this into a series and do more planner trips in the future to different places like Europe or the US or Korea. And yeah, super excited about that. So I will see you all next time, and